Welcome to British Business, The Bottom Line. Every week, me and Matt sit down to talk about the real stuff, the news affecting your business, the lessons we've learned the hard way, and the things nobody tells you when you're running your own show. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for years, this one's for you. I'm Charlie Smith. And I'm Matt Holland. Let's get into it. Let's get into it, Matthew. Is this take number 4 or is this take number 5? I've lost count.
Yeah, so for people listening, we've had some technical issues recording today's episode, but we persevere. In true entrepreneurial spirit, we don't give up. I've said this.
What's funny is that you blamed yourself for the first 3 attempts, and now all of a sudden it might well be my fault, apparently.
Well, listen, ultimate accountability. Even if it is your fault, Charlie, I'll take the hit for it. How does that sound?
Oh, that's beautiful. Right, tell us the episode title again, Matt, for the 4th time.
So, episode 81, we're talking about balance, Andy Burnham, and the great pub rates cut.
Oh, juicy.
Are you excited for that, Charlie?
Yeah, kind of. Are you?
How's things on your end? I'm obviously in sunny France. How are things in?
I'm in a car park off the side of a play. I'm in a car park off the side of a playing field in Salisbury, surrounded by green bushes. Business is hard, as it always is, but particularly July has been a challenging month for us so far. Sales probably not where we needed to be. Don't know whether it's a culmination of this continued period of dry weather, hot weather, whether it was an impact of World Cup, people just spending their money on beers. I know the pubs have had a good time of it. Speaking to a few this week. I don't know, but we keep persevering. We've contacted an awful lot of customers this week, trying to reach out, see if we can drive some more interest, drive some more business. But sales have been tough. That being said, we made some good developments on a few other things. 90-day plan moving forward. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, generally, just it's all been okay. It's just the sales at the moment are disappointing, I'd say, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, we're still up marginally year on year in July, but we're obviously feeling the impact of the weather now, I would say. The weather has a big impact on my game, but we're kind of like, you can't have it your way all the time, if that makes sense.
No,
so
you can't,
kind
mate.
of like, I'm content with performance as it stands right now. And I think ultimately you have to be patient. But that's very hard if you're up against it with challenges financially, et cetera, which many businesses are. So yeah, I don't know. It's pretty hard out there from what I'm hearing.
Pretty gnarly. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Did you see James Sinclair's latest video on his YouTube?
Yeah, I have started it. I have not finished it as of yet. But it's interesting to see somebody who runs a behemoth, as he calls it, look generally a little bit deflated and a little bit challenged by it all, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a picture that is painted across a lot of business owners across the UK at the moment. Whether they like to admit it or not, I think people who would have found it tough in the last 12 months, for sure. I know I certainly have.
Yeah, I think some of the challenges that he's spoken about openly, I think he would agree that probably it's of his own creation, where he's probably gone. I don't think he's gone too aggressive. I think he's just, because of who he is and how driven he is and how much he wants to grow and everything else, just a couple of things haven't gone his way. And then when those things happen in business, you need to have a bit of a, I suppose, armory or backup plan or war chest. And I think he probably didn't have that because he'd been pushing hard for quite a period, and then he's had to grow his way out of the problem, basically. So for anyone listening who's not a follower of James Sinclair, I think most people are that listen to this podcast, but go and check out that video. A very honest take on the downs, if you like, of entrepreneurship, which I think he articulated quite well as basically a learning period for him. um, which I think, I think, and any like I would say successful entrepreneur will have gone through some hardship without a doubt. Um, so
If
quite
it was easy,
interesting.
everyone would do it, wouldn't they?
Very true, very true. Um, what's your win of the week then, Charlie?
My win of the week this week, Matthew, is that I know we're focusing on 90-day plans. So I've made some progress on that. Not that I'm going to report, but my win of the week. We talked a little bit a couple of weeks ago about systems and processes. We talked about Kieran, who is kind of like the general office manager we've got. We at the moment his position, he kind of takes on quite a few different things in an operations point of view, and we discussed about maybe not giving him enough room to fail with some of the things we're setting up. So a couple of weeks ago we said we were going to have a meeting. We set the meeting for 7 days time. We wanted to improve the systems and processes of our production facility, and we kind of wanted to set ourselves up for a little bit of future success. We're okay for the business we are now, but we're not set up for the business that we want to be. And I think that's one of the key things. So we're looking at it from a two-prong attack. So I'm at the moment looking at how do we drive more business, which is where my 90-day plans come, which is where the whole digital thing's coming from. But also we need to be aware that we need to set ourselves up to set that up. We've made some really great progress this week in terms of our operational setup, how we're laid out, how goods move in and out the door, and we've made some really good progress this week on setting that up. So that's my win of the week this week.
That's good. So some progress on something very operationally important there, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's really. I think when we've talked in the past, we think about like we've said what is kind of the main constraint. Well, the main constraint for us is we need more customers, because we want to grow, we want to be bigger, we want to have more cash, and we want to be able to do more things, i.e., leverage the unit next door, for example, which is still burning slowly in the background. But that's okay, just focusing on that. But in the way in which we currently run and operate, in terms of taking those orders and processing them out the door, we're not fit to take on a massive influx right now. We've taken that influx, so the setup was okay for the business 6 months ago. It worked quite well, but I think you've constantly got to kind of be improving those systems to be set for the business that you want to become, haven't you? And I feel like we've not quite kept up with that rate of change, and I think we need to do that now, so that if we do have the success that we're planning for taking on new customers, then we're really good to go, and it's an easy transition, if you know what I mean. So we're focusing on both,
I'm
but
gonna
we're kind of splitting our time wisely.
I'm gonna counter you slightly here. So have the
Go for it.
systems failed recent? Have the systems failed?
Yeah.
As in, what I'm talking about is that the operational systems, are they coping with demand or have they failed to cope with demand?
There's been times where they've failed.
Right, yeah. So you are in the right point of the cycle. What I was going to say is if they hadn't actually
Wait
failed
till
right now, yeah, to a certain, I mean, it's a dangerous game, but actually,
Mm,
when when I think back over time, I think you do have to push it to its limit before you then start deploying resources on systemizing and improving things. It's kind of, you've got to do them both simultaneously, but I would say more energy should always be focused on growing the business, driving volume and
I
revenue.
agree with that. I agree with
Um,
that. But the problem we're facing is we're generating orders, the process in taking those orders, generating artwork. There's a lot of legwork that goes with kind of obtaining a new customer, um,
yeah,
especially when you're kind of like sampling, proofing, you're designing logos, you're talking about positions of where items are going to be decorated, how we're going to decorate each one, what color choice, all that sort of stuff. And we're getting to the point where we're kind of like driving sales, we're doing things the quick way. The proof sheets are sometimes missing or they're kind of inaccurate, which means that it's causing a production bottleneck where we might be doing something wrong or we're not portraying the same conversation. And actually, we just need to stop and get that right so that circle can be kind of closed off properly. And I think that on the whole, we're pretty good at kind of winging our way through it, or we have been. And you know what? For 80-90% of the orders in which we produce, we're absolutely okay. But there's some which are causing us a little bit too much strain, which then take my time away from generating new business and time away from him to generate new business because we're fixing some of those things that could have easily been avoided in the first place. Do you get me? So
Yeah.
I think right now for us it is really quite important that we kind of nail that off, so that we can kind of kick on at the same time. So
Yeah. Sounds like almost there's it's like a sales administration challenge where perhaps the systemization of the order processing isn't nailed rather than the actual processing of the orders, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I mean, we've gone through within our business like multiple rounds of I mean, where do I start? Where do I finish? It's fascinating. I could talk about it a lot, but yeah, it's hard. It is hard to get it right. Completely agree. So,
It's an evolving thing, isn't it? It should change and it should flow and it should adapt and things anyway. I think that's the point is that we carry on a little bit in the same ways for too long, as opposed to being like, right, this we've identified this a little bit of an issue. Let's fix that. Let's do that. Let's move on. We kind of don't take
yeah,
action quick enough on some things, and then they do become a little bit more of a problem. That's the danger, I think. I
yeah,
think that would be a
exactly.
good analogy of where we're at.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Um, what's my win of the week? My win of the week is
You gonna tell me you don't have
I
one?
wrote down a couple. No, I wrote down a couple of things. One is basically the shop opened as I was driving to France on Saturday. So the shop opened successfully. We've just done 7 days. I'm very happy with that. Numbers are looking good. It's encouraging. We're going really well. Had some really great support from some of our supplier relations as well, who've been like super positive and enthusiastic about the shop, which is nice. And I think it's the start of something really special, going physical with retail. I'd love for us to have more than one long term, but I think the first thing that we've got to prove there is that the concept works and that it's profitable, etc., etc., which I think it will be based upon the numbers that I've projected. So, yeah, really, that's a big win. And I know I mentioned that on the last podcast that it was kind of gearing up to opening, and it's happened now. So, we've had customers coming in, which is mega exciting. But I'd say my big win of the week is actually that I get the opportunity to try and pursue some level of balance over the next 5 weeks. Now I've been out here for a week tomorrow, and I'm 1/6 of the way through, and I think. Obviously, the title of today's episode, I wanted to touch on balance a little bit. Have I achieved some level of balance? I'd say, yes, I have. I would say I have. I mean, I'm not in the business. I'm in a foreign country. I'm here for 6 weeks. It's going to be interesting. So I would say the win of the week is I have the opportunity to pursue some level of balance. I've been really focused on my health this week. So just trying to I'm doing a lot more stretching. I'm currently injured, so I can't run. So we're doing lots of strength training. So yeah, it's been good. So I'd say I'm on the right trajectory, if that makes sense.
Good. How has it been working for the first week? Did you find it a difficult adaptation, or has it been all right?
Yes. Yeah. I think I've been
Difficult.
a little bit more stressed than normal. I think part of the challenge is I have a workstation at home and at work, and it's comfortable and it's a great setting. Whereas I'm out of environment here, so it's a little bit uncomfortable at times. I'm not really like in a distraction-free zone, so it's hard to differentiate the two. And I think I just need to make sure that I'm disciplined with separating the off time and the work time, which is I'm adjusting to that, is what I'm saying.
Good. Good.
Yeah. So yeah, no, things are good. Have you seen we've hit over 200 subscribers on YouTube now? Did you see that?
I did. I got a notification for it. I also see we got 60 followers on Instagram, which is amazing considering I don't post any of the reels.
Yes, yeah. That is true. That is true. Yeah,
I thought I'd just dig myself there
yeah.
before you digged me, before you did it. So I just thought I'd get in there first with the
No,
little stab.
I had a message from Sally from Caterpillar Cross Stitch, And she said she liked the podcast because I sent a link to a few people I know, just kind of saying, "Hey, can you give us some feedback?" And she said we need to be a bit more direct and straight to the point rather than this kind of like waffly period. She didn't say that, but that was kind of my interpretation. But I think
Okay.
actually the endearing part of our podcast is, I think I think it's quite endearing that we kind of have this little segment at the start where we chat a bit of shit. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
amen,
quite good.
amen. We all need it. It's our therapy. It's our therapy, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. So British business fact of the week. Shall I hit you with that?
Yeah, please hit me with it. Yeah.
So it's a little bit about balance. So I'll just get into it. So UK small business owners take an average of just 15 full days off a year, well short of the 28-day statutory minimum for their own employees, which they're entitled to. And roughly 1 in 5 sole traders, 21%, take no full days off at all. That is around 1 million owners who never truly switch off. The source of that is Tide Bank. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but basically, not many of us actually have much balance. Would you agree with that, Charlie?
Yeah, yeah. And Hannah would say the same thing to me as well. She'd always say, "You don't have enough time off," and I just say, I just can't."
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I could definitely have some time off, 100%, but is it that fear of failure that prevents me
Mm,
from doing it? I don't know. Is it my entrepreneurial
yeah, I
drive?
think
Is it
so.
my problem solving? I'm not sure. My brain definitely doesn't switch off. I was chatting with a guy Mark had a video call with earlier about um, kind of looking after the cash in the business, and we're looking at a few different options. But he asked me how you're finding like the adapting to France and I said my brain's not really stopped, to be honest with you. Like last night, I've slept really well the first 5 nights, but last night I couldn't get to sleep. My brain was just in a bit of a hyperactive mode, which that's just the type of person I am. And I think a lot of entrepreneurial people will resonate with that. I had a catch up with my mentor Simon this morning, and he said, "Well, I'm in my mid 60s, and I'm still cannot switch off. It's just my brain. I'm always thinking about different things, like ideas and opportunities. So yeah, it's just who we are. I think it's in our DNA.
Yeah, I don't think, but I think there's difference there. I don't think you do switch off, and I don't think you should switch off. But I think there are times where you can control it. I spoke about the episode that I filmed with Paul and Lee for the Just Pull the Trigger podcast, come out last Friday, I think, a week ago. And the first
Oh
clip
yeah,
we talked about finding balance, and in that I spoke about kind of like how I feel in the evenings, and also like the cost of success we touched on as well. And you hear a lot about people saying, if you want to do this, you just need to work harder, you just need to put more hours in, or you just need to get up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, you just need to do this, that, and the other. But I mean, sometimes I think, if that is the cost of success, then I don't think I really want it. But I don't. I want. It was interesting because I'm not saying that I do switch off. I don't. I'm always thinking about it, and I'm always thinking about what we can do. Or something crops up in my head, I'm always writing stuff down, or texting other people, or writing a note, or sending an email to myself. That always happens because the ideas and the things you remember come into your head all the time. So you never switch off. But I do think you can kind of control that. I still think you can be on and then control it. Time with the kids. What do you do? Can you go and play some sport? Can you do some activity? I think it can all be controlled. I don't think it should be switched off entirely. Is my kind of view on it. And then as for kind of like going to sleep and stuff, I just whack the telly on and fall asleep to something I've watched before. Simple. Visual oversighting, mate.
yeah,
Works a treat. Learned that when I was working in retail. So I think we all do it. We are always on. We are always wired to like want to do something new and different. And what can we change? How can we get better? How can we improve? And we love the businesses we own. We love what we do. So I just it is a difficult one, and I think you just got to find your kind of own way, haven't you? It's like there isn't a set way of doing it.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's okay to be switched on.
Firstly, firstly, shout out to Paul and Lee, and for anyone listening, go and check out I think it's called Just Pull the Trigger podcast,
Yeah,
Dispatch Bros. If you type that in on YouTube or Spotify, they've got a really good podcast, and they've had some great entrepreneurs on there, actually, to be fair. Some of them are from within their client base, and some of them are just from that kind of like Essex entrepreneurial network. They had James Martin on, I think, a little while ago, who's a serious entrepreneur. Not like you and I, bless us.
No.
And
Oh, right.
yeah, I really like those two. Family business, great story. And I think they've got a couple of really exciting guests coming on at some point. And so yeah, go and check that podcast out. But why are you laughing?
Well, they've had one non-exciting guest in me, but one of the next ones must be you, I suspect.
Well, I didn't want to, pull it out of the bag, but yeah, well said. But to answer to kind of respond to what you're saying though, in terms of that balance and the challenge of balance, like, couldn't agree more. I think everything does come at a cost, and it's all relative. So I think if you were to chat with some of your friends that you play cricket with who are employed, they'd probably look at you and think there's something wrong with you, and probably say, like, Charlie needs to spend more time with his family, Charlie this, Charlie that. And that would be basically their opinion. But then you probably look at me sometimes and think Matt's probably maybe not got the balance 100% right. And then you and I probably look at James Sinclair and probably go, do you know what? Maybe James Sinclair hasn't got the balance right. I don't know. But I think it's all relative. And I think it's something I struggle with, to try and get the balance right. And I think you ultimately, it's that pyramid that I talked about a couple of episodes ago, where the bottom of the pyramid is your business and your work at the end of the day, because it supports everything else in the ecosystem. It has to be successful so that you can then do the things that you want to do in life. You need the business to be strong and resilient, so it gives you the money and the time to do the things that you want to do. And for that to happen, you have to work at it, and it has to be unrelenting. So I think balance is possible, but it's relative to what you want it to look like, or what it's capable of being in relation to who you are and the type of business you have.
Yeah, and I think it also it's very individualistic, isn't it? But it's also dependent on what your kind of inner circle and what your family life is like, and what everybody else kind of agrees to too. So one person's balance can be completely different to the next. If you're at home and your kids need you more, or your family needs you more, or you've got older parents that might need support, it's kind of like your balance is different to somebody else's balance. And I think it's sometimes difficult. I think I'm certainly learning that, because I was probably a little bit more judgmental in the past. But it's just what your kind of circle dictates your balance is able to be, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree definitely. So
because you can look from the outside all along. You can look from the outside all the time, can't you, and say, exactly what you said. Like, I don't think they got that right, or they work too much, or they don't work hard enough, etc., etc. But if that's okay for them and it works for them, then brilliant.
One of the interesting things I picked out from your podcast on Just Pull the Trigger was Paul and Lee kind of had a moment where they acknowledged that their families don't actually spend enough time together outside of the business, because obviously the two brothers are working together on a day-to-day basis, but outside, their two sets of kids probably don't interact as much as they do. And I think that's very prevalent in family businesses, is you end up in this scenario where your relationship almost becomes predominantly work related. So there's a balance on relationships as well, which is kind of what you're saying, is sometimes things outside of it kind of dictate the internals of it. But yeah, it's interesting. The big thing I just wanted to mention as well is I'm effectively I'm acting as a guinea pig on balance right now, because I've got these 6 weeks away where each week we're going to put an episode out, and it's going to be interesting to see how I feel about balance and how I'm feeling about being out of the business for this length of time. It's going to be fascinating to see what impact it has on me in the business. But I think less of me for the staff and my brother and sister can only be a good thing, surely. That's my observation. So yeah, what do you think of Andy Burnham then? We've got a new Prime Minister.
Oh, fuck yeah. I don't know, mate. Where'd you start?
Well,
Where
I'm
do
going
we
to start
start?
at a very big. I'm going to start a very big, high level perspective, which is I just we can get into the habit of moaning and whinging about it, but the short of it is we've just got to get on with it. So,
Agreed.
like we said on the previous episode about businesses, should we let businesses fail? Yes, we should. Unfortunately, it is what it is. It'll just mean the remaining businesses are stronger. That's kind of my ruthless view, which is really sad to say. I mean, I just had a catch up call with someone this morning who. He's been through a very traumatic 2 or 3 years in his business, and he's ended up finding a way of getting it to work. He's pivoted, and he's doing exceptionally well. So the original model that he was pursuing was a really hard model, and he's pivoted into a different niche and industry space, almost to serve the industry that he was in, if that makes sense. And he's found a great profitable business. And I just said to him, I said, you should be really proud of what you've achieved. And it's not luck. You've created that success and opportunity for you and your family. And he was like, oh, thanks, Matt. I really appreciate that. And I just said, you need to take note of that, because when times are hard, like, it can be very easy to lean into blaming other people, but ultimately you as the
100%.
business owner and entrepreneur, you're responsible for innovating and driving it forward and making the model work around the conditions. Like, look at us, we've offshored. That's what we've done because of our operating costs. We've gone down the route of having more and more staff overseas from a cost perspective. We've done X, we've done Y. There's other little flicks and tricks, as James Martin says. We've swept and deployed things from other people's businesses that I've come into contact with. You I think you just got to be. You've got to have the mindset when these think times are hard to really innovate. But going back to Andy Burnham, I think it's going to be interesting. I watched a brief segment of an interview. It's more about the Chancellor, to be honest with you. Is he capable of delivering the right stimulus that will help businesses and the economy grow? The verdict is out on him. He's a bit of an unknown character from an economic perspective. I can't remember his name now, but I did watch a brief thing.
John Healy.
John Healy, yeah. So what he said sounded decent. He basically said
Yep.
for a long time it's been all about the cost of living crisis for the individuals, but there's also a cost crisis going on in businesses, and we need to look to stem that. And he said, I think, three things. The first thing he said was tax. He said the cost of tax, the cost of utilities, and the cost of labour are too high for a lot of businesses right now. And I thought, do you know what? That's a very high level observation. And the UK economy right now, and I know I'm on a fucking big monologue here, mate, so I apologise. It's like war and peace.
Carry on.
But the UK economy right now, it needs stability. We can't just go in and chopping and changing things left, right, and centre, because it'll throw the bond market off. So my view is we need stability. They shouldn't chop and change too much too soon. But I think what they have come in and suggested with the pub rates cut, so Burnham's pub rate cut, where effectively they're offering they're going to be doing a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, social clubs, and some live music venues, not the super big ones. They're going to have to carry on paying it because, well, fuck big companies, apparently, according to them. But basically, it's projected to save £1,100 a year for the average pub. Now, for an industry that's on its knees, that doesn't sound like a lot of money to me. Is it enough? And that's my kind of view, is like, it's going to cost the Treasury 100 million quid a year, which is like, okay, great. I'm skeptical of whether or not that's aggressive enough to actually make a difference.
Yeah, well, it's a start though, isn't it? And we're talking about a week in. I was of the similar sort of ilk. I think my opinion was similar. It's like, if it does become a sort of another token gesture to say we're helping, then it won't be good enough, will it? But as an initial start, it's a good place to start. It's a good token, I think, is what it is to begin with. I think it's interesting that it's only included certain venues or certain hospitality sectors. I feel like there'll be a lot of people that will say, kind of like, "What about me?" It doesn't go straight in
Yeah.
with the what they've been asking for, which is a complete overhaul of the VAT system for the hospitality and leisure sector as a whole. It'll be interesting to see where that conversation gets to. Is it another? Yeah, but we've done this for you. But okay, no, but that's not what we've been talking about. That's what we've been saying. They say like 32,000. I think 32,000 pubs and venues will be kind of impacted by this positively, which is a good start. But by the same time, when John Healey was talking about that and announcing that, some of the things he was discussing, like you've just mentioned, utilities, the cost of labour, etc., etc. It was like, okay, someone kind of gets, someone is listening, someone knows that those are issues. The key thing now will be, are you going to do anything about it, or are you going to continue to kind of like brush past it and kind of like gaslight us and say that we've done this, we've done that, we're helping by doing this, when we're not really getting to the crux of what is being asked for, or what is needed. So look, it's been a week, hasn't it? I think going in and cutting bus fares down to £2, it's like, oh great, he's talking about buses again. The number 10 in the north, I think, oh fucking hell, more additional resource to another office in the north for no real reason. But hey, if it means that you're working in the right areas and you're spending time thinking about the right things, then kind of who am I to judge? And it's been a week. I think the best thing is that there has been some action in week one. Might be quite little, but there's been some action.
I'd love to hear people listening. If you could just chuck a comment on YouTube or Spotify and just let us know whether you are pro Andy Burnham or if you think it's going to be a problem, or I'd be interested to hear what people think. So for all three listeners out there, Hannah, Amy, and who's the third? I can't remember.
Sean Moore listens a lot.
Yeah. So Sean, give us your thoughts on whether or not you think Andy Burnham's going to be positive for UK businesses or not. I'd be intrigued to know what people think. We've had some really good engagement and comments recently. And also, if you see in the comments someone chatting utter shit, please call them out on it. Please give them some shit as well. We had someone, some fucking wanker, I think it was tongue-in-cheek, but he basically said, should we let rubbish YouTube channels fail? And I was like, oh, you're having a dig, are you?
Ah, having a little fucking pop at us, are they? Hey?
Yeah. I'll send me my fucking address. We'll have a straightener, mate.
I'm going back. Just to go back to that though. It's interesting that we've still got a Labour government. We've got different leadership. The witch is gone, isn't she? She is no longer in a position of power. But if you think about the business rates cut there for the sector we're discussing, or the part of the sector we're discussing, post-COVID, I think there was 75% reductions in that sector, wasn't there, from a business rate perspective? She cut that to 40, and by April 2027, I believe there was going to be zero in terms of reductions. And don't forget, those rates have already been increased, and they've already had to go back on some of those increases anyway. So the fact that now we are at a lower position than what we were under a still Labour government, albeit different personnel, it's quite a big swing in thinking in itself. It might be a token gesture. It might only affect a small few, but the thinking there is kind of in the right place, I think. But it needs to step on from there, doesn't it?
Yeah. My biggest observation with it is actually the fact that they're realising that they can't tax their way to growth. So the fact that they've made a tax cut to stimulate a sector or a business is a acknowledgement by what I would describe as almost like socialist politics or economics that, oh, wait a minute, actually, they've basically contradicted their own politics, if that makes sense, because they're kind of like socialist left politics. It's the case that you tax, the government takes the money, and then the government stimulates the economy to grow. Well, if they're almost contradicting their own politics there by giving a bit of a tax breakout, which I just think is quite funny. But we are where we are with it. I mean, did you see what's his face, Gary Lineker, trying to stay relevant with his comments about taxing
the millionaires,
taxing the rich?
Yeah,
what a bellend.
That age-old debate.
Well, I mean, he's hilarious. He's just won a lawsuit against HMRC, and I think he's just trying to stay relevant. But anyway, so Should we do closed question of the week, mate? I've got a good one for you
Yeah,
here.
please.
So, and I'd like people listening to comment what their answer to this question is as well, because it's going to be interesting to read some people's thoughts. So, and then think in relation to this about what you need to do to try and prevent this from happening or prevent it from being a problem, because it's not a straightforward thing to solve, in my opinion. So, closed question of the week. If your business had to run for 6 weeks without you starting tomorrow, what is the first thing that would break, and what does that tell you about where you are actually needed and what you should potentially do in the future to alleviate that problem from happening? Let's pause here now. Charlie's brain. I'll answer it first. I'll help you out, Charlie,
You
while
go
you
for it. I'm just
think.
writing down. What is the first thing that would break? Because I normally forget and ask you to repeat the question.
Yeah. So for me, what would break first if I couldn't do anything in my business? I think the day-to-day would continue. I think we'd be fine. I think innovation would stop. So the people in my business, including Rob and Sarah, they are fantastic operators, and they come up with a lot of ingenious ways of improving the day-to-day operation and making things better. They're fantastic. Danny's amazing. But I think where I come in and the value that I add, because I'm not operating as much as I used to, I come up with a lot of, I suppose, ideas and innovation, if you like. And then what happens is me, Rob and Sarah, we discuss it, and then we then implement together. So I think the only thing that would happen in my business would there be a lack of innovation during that 6-week period, which wouldn't be the end of the world. So I could do it, and we wouldn't enter into like free fall, but it would be like almost like a slow decline if I were to not return after the 6 weeks. So I think I'm in a good position with it, but I'm choosing over this 6-week period. Obviously, I want to continue to drive progress, so I'm supporting the team and I'm trying to improve things. A few different projects going on. But Charlie, and people listening, write down in the comments what you think. But Charlie, here's your moment to shine.
I got two things. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think a lot would change from the day to day. I think the team would step up for that anyway. So I don't think the kind of like the customer journey would be impacted. I don't think. I do think, like yourself, I've written down no developments, no changes. So I think that I am probably the one that kind of like drives that. What can we do to change? What can we do this different? How does this? Why why is this wrong? How can this be improved? I think that probably comes from me. The biggest one, I think, and it's no fault of anyone apart from myself, is I think our cash flow position is shit. Don't get me wrong, but I think it would get worse. So I take care of the financials alongside our accounts girl Viv. So paying suppliers, driving income back in from our kind of 30-day customers from the stationery side of the business, etc. I think there would be a little hit there because I think we try and keep the wheels turning, but I think we'd probably forget a little bit about our financial position. Would be the thing I think would fail first.
What about? Because I thought you were going to say lead generation, because I thought your job role was heavily focused upon generating new leads and opportunities. So recurring customers would continue probably, but surely your new lead gen would slow down as well, which would then impact cash flow.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. From a marketing perspective, yeah, because that's kind of solely driven for me. But if you think about right on the here and now, we've been shit at that the last 4 weeks. I said that in a post the other day on Instagram. I don't think we've done enough of that anyway. So that's been if I was to reflect and look at what were we doing last year versus this year, what is the biggest change? The biggest change is that. So I know that, I'm very aware of that, but that is already in the forefront of my thinking. I think the other things would fail because the other one's not happening enough anyway.
I have a book recommendation for you and for people listening. Let me just pull it up. So that retreat that I went on in Malaga, the guy's called James Burke. and it's not James Burke that used to co-host James Sinclair's podcast. It's a different James Burke.
His name's James Burke.
And so the name of the book is called Marketing That Works. And at the start of the book, he talks about how if businesses don't have a marketing strategy or don't have a marketeer in the business, they fail because they can't win customers. And I think it's something that everyone listening should read, including myself. I'm partway through it. And shout out to Ryan from School of Play, who's kind of pointing me in the direction of James Burke and invited me on that trip because I've learnt a lot from James Burke's content. But yeah, check him out. Check that book out on Audible. It's very, very good. I'd recommend it. And he does a great job reading it. He read it himself, narrated it himself. So yeah, it's a very good book. But yeah, interesting.
A little pause there for reflection.
Yeah, a little pause.
No, I think there's a few. I think there's a few things that would, but I think that's very much. I think that's very much. A lot of it is kind of generally to do with size. We're at a point now where we don't. It's not a massive team. It's a small team. People would have to chip in, pull in, etc. I think everyone would get through a period like that. Absolutely no trouble. Take me back 12 months ago, my answer would be completely different. And I've said before, like I was able to go on holiday last year and everything was absolutely fine. And I don't worry about that so much now. You know, I had a week off at the last half term with Finley. Was able just to have a week with him. Didn't pick up my laptop. Didn't do an awful lot at all. Everything was fine. Everything was good. We still moved. 6 weeks is a little bit of a bigger challenge, I think, probably for us right now, and I think that would probably stretch us. But I don't think we'd fail. I
suppose that question represents not specifically going and taking 6 weeks holiday. What it more kind of the point of it, because my situation is relatively rare, but it's more to do with like if you, due to ill health or a problem, couldn't work or couldn't be engaged in the business for that period, what would happen? And I think that's a key thing for people to take note on, because truly security comes from a situation whereby you're not required on a day-to-day basis. And your business is not very secure if you're in a situation where you can't, for whatever reason, if you were unable to work, not be involved. And I think if you run in a business and you can't take 6 weeks out, well, your business is probably worth nothing. I.e., if you were thinking about selling it in the future and you're doing everything in the business, well, your business is probably worth nothing because you couldn't sell it. So just something else to observe, because a lot of business owners have all their money in their business as well. So your business is not very saleable. Yeah. Cool. Should we knock it on the head, Charles?
Good luck. Yeah, we got through that, mate, didn't we? We managed to record one, which I'm really pleased we did.
Yeah, I mean, your head looks like a potato. It's just 1 pixel, but I think it's been all right.
Oh, good, mate. Hopefully I portray better when the actual episode is released. But hopefully everyone just listens and doesn't watch, and then we'll be absolutely fine, won't we?
If you are watching, if you could let us know in the comments who had the better recording at the end of this, that would be great, just to settle that little discrepancy that Charlie made at the start, where he was trying to suggest that it was my problem, but I think it was his. But there we are. Anyway, we'll love you and leave you. Thank you for listening, everyone. We love you, and we'll see you very soon. Cheers.